Good morning, everybody. It's your girl Chanel here. What it do? What it do? It's Tuesday. I guess everybody went to tacos today, huh, for lunch. Anyways, yeah, I'm on my way to work and coming back at you with another storytelling date disaster. So this one, I think I told you I was going to tell you about the thief. So here it goes. So I found him on the dating site. He was a car salesman, and he was tall. Like, he had to been at least like 6'4". Chocolate brother, thick. He wasn't like fat, but he wasn't skinny. He wasn't like muscular, like he work out or nothing like that. Man, this traffic crazy. But you know, he was just regular, whatever. So he asked me out. We chatted a little bit online. He asked me out, and of course I'm gonna say yeah, because he was cute. You know, like, why not? So he said he was a car salesman. So he chose this Thai restaurant in I would say like East Atlanta area. It was like in the Highlands, if anyone knows that area. And so went over there. I met him. Well, put it like this. I was at the restaurant and I had to wait on him. It took him about 5 minutes before he showed up, and when he showed up, he was on the cell phone. And I'm like, hey, how you doing? And he's like, you know, on the phone, still talking. And we walk into the restaurant. He's still on the phone. And I walk up to the hostess and I tell her to please, and she seats us or whatever. It's a really nice restaurant, I'm not gonna lie. And he finally gets off the phone and he's like, oh, apologizing and explaining to me what's going on. It's like a work situation where he works at a dealership that has like a sister dealership in a different city, I think Athens or something like that, which is like a couple of hours drive, or maybe an hour drive away from where we are here in Atlanta. And oh my god, it's a big 18-wheeler. Sorry, big 18-wheeler, but you're gonna have to get behind me. Sorry. Anyway, so he explains to me that the other car dealership in Athens had a car that had some issues with it, and they were supposed to be transferring the car to his location so that the people can, I guess, get a new car, because they had just bought that one and they had problems or something. I'm not sure. But normally, he said, normally an employee is supposed to drive the car from one dealership to the next. They let the customers drive themselves, and they broke down on the side of the road. Now, it's after hours. It's like 9 o'clock at night. The car dealership is closed, so they're just stuck and stranded. And so the other car dealership was trying to get him to go and rescue the customers off the side of the road. And he's like a manager, so he's like, nah, I could probably try to see if I can get like some of my employees to do it, but I'm at a restaurant, I'm not doing nothing, you know. So him and the other manager of the other dealership was going back and forth, and it was really stressful for him. And then he also was explaining that, you know, why would he go and meet two women and a guy that he don't know in the dark on the side of the road? He said they could try something. You know, he said that wouldn't even be smart of him. He was like, that wasn't the proper protocol for them to take. You know, I understood it. So, the waitress came over, she took our orders, and he ended up getting back on the phone, you guys. I kid you not. We didn't even get a real chance to enjoy ourselves. I took some pictures of that night, and he was on the cell phone. And I was just like, look at this beautiful spread. The food was amazing at that restaurant. And I was just sitting there eating, enjoying myself, while he's still on the phone the whole time, just, you know, dealing with his bull crap. And so afterwards, we finished eating, he paid for the food. I had me a doggy bag because it was just so much food. I couldn't eat it all. And he was like, let's go next door to this cigar lounge. And I'm like, okay, cool. I don't smoke, but, you know, whatever. That's what he wants to do. He didn't want the night to end because he felt bad about being on the phone the whole time at the restaurant, which was fine by me. So we go to the cigar lounge, and I ordered me a glass of wine, and he gets him a cigar. And we started talking, and oh my God, you guys, I started seeing that he was kind of one of those stuck-up brothers that, you know, I'm saying stuck up, but I guess he just has his own standards that he is looking for. He's looking for a woman that has like a high credit score. You're not wrong with that, you know, I can dig it. He's looking for, he was doing a lot of talk about how his sister, he just doesn't understand how she's okay with a mediocre job. And I'm just like, okay, so he's like wanting his sister to strive for more, which is nothing wrong with that. But if she's happy with the job that she has and she's not complaining about it, then who are you to try to tell her her way of life or her standard of living is low or terrible and she needs to do better just because you're a car salesman, you know? So I think he, you know, I don't know. To me, I felt like he was very judgmental, and honestly, it was a turn off. But I just listened to him, and I said, well, what if you meet a young lady that's really nice, and her credit score is like a 690, you know? Maybe she had a rough time during the pandemic. She's got a good paying job. She, you know, I was trying to see, and I said, she's like very sweet, very honest, you know, a good woman. He was just like, I don't know. I'm like, ooh, okay. And so, long story short, after we left the cigar lounge, while we were sitting there, I forgot. He was asking me about my bracelets because I'm always wearing my little bracelets. They're actually like stones, and they have meaning to them. And he was asking what do they mean, and I was telling him, you know, this one means you're grounded. This one helps keep you grounded. This one helps protect you from negative energy. You know, just a whole bunch of. I was just explaining it to him, and he was like, "Oh, I need this one right here," and he grabbed one of them, and he was like, you know, he put it on his arm, and I didn't think nothing of it. He was like, "Yeah, you know, I need the one that keeps the negative energy away," and I'm like, okay, you know, yeah, this is it, you know. So I was like, you can buy these in the West End. I'm pretty sure there's online. There's a guy that I bought a really nice one that I got, this one here, online, and you know, just explaining to him what the different stones mean and everything. So we kept talking or whatever, but then once we were about to leave, you know, he had parked kind of far away from the restaurant, and I parked like right across the street from him. So I was like, I can take you to your car, which was like 5 minutes away, walking. He was like, okay, cool. So he walks with me to my truck. He gets in, and I drive him to his to the parking garage that he was in. I didn't know he was in a parking garage. And I get out because I couldn't go in without having to get a ticket, and then I would have to pay to get out. So I just stopped right at the gate. And I got out, and he was like, give me a hug, and I gave him a hug. And when I gave him the hug, he was like, all right, well, bye, it was nice. I was like, yeah, I had fun, it was cool. And so he goes on, and I get in my truck, and I turn around, and I leave. Like, a few minutes later, he calls me, and he's like, where are you? I was like, getting on the highway, about to head home. And he was like, why don't you, you know, he was like, that hug you gave me was really nice, you know. He was like, why don't you come back to my place for a drink, you know. And I was like, it's pretty late, I don't think I want to do that, you know. It was like 11 something by then. And he was like, I literally live 5 minutes away from the restaurant. And I'm like, it was Friday, I guess I can hang out late. So I was like, I don't know. He was like, I won't bite, you know, trying to explain that he's just not ready for the date to end, and, you know. And I was like, okay, cool. And so I I says, okay, fine, send me the address. So, oh, I forgot to add, during the date, when he got off the phone, between the time of us leaving the restaurant and going to the cigar bar, he was complaining about having a headache because of how stressful the situation was with his work. And so it kind of like put a kind of a low damper on the whole mood of the date or whatever. The energy was kind of low or whatever. But he was like, you know, he didn't want the date to end. I guess he kind of felt bad about his behavior during the day or whatever, or the situation or whatever. I don't know. So I was like, all right, fine, just send me the address or whatever. So I get the address and I put it in GPS and it's not 5 minutes away, you guys. It's more like 15 minutes away. I was like, this nigga, whatever. So I drive to his location. Now keep in mind, on his profile it said that he was in Smyrna, and I was like, this is not taking me to Smyrna. This is taking me to the west side of Atlanta, like the hood. And I was just like, all that talking like he was, you know, trying to make himself seem like he was more than what he is, bougie and all this stuff, and he really is just some dude that lives in the hood. So anyway, or just got a little job and just, you know, let it go to his head or something. But anyway, so I drive to his house, and it's a little townhouse. You know those little cookie cutter neighborhoods that have all the houses look the same and they're connected to each other. They're like townhouses. Yeah, he was in one of those little subdivisions. So I park right out front. He comes out, and he, you know, I come in, and it's cute, it's tiny, you know, tiny little townhouse, whatever. And I notice he has like little girl toys and stuff all over the place. And I'm like, oh, you have a daughter? And he's like, yeah, she's, you know, I guess with her mom or somewhere. I don't know, she wasn't there. And I was like, okay. So we're sitting down. I'm talking about, he had so much furniture cramped in that little space. It was just like he had to put the chairs to the dining room table up on the table so he can walk in the kitchen. It was really tiny, you guys. But I guess when it's just you and a little tiny daughter, it's not a big deal. But upstairs, he did show me upstairs, and it was 3 bedrooms upstairs. So that was pretty cool. It just wasn't a lot of space downstairs. And anyways, long story short, so we're sitting there, we're watching Shark Tank. I think that's what the show is called, where people are trying to get money for the start of their businesses. And we laughing. He done poured me some wine. He had a nice little wine bar downstairs, and he poured me some wine, and we laughing and watching the show. Everything was cool, and he kept complaining about his head hurting and his back hurting, and I was like, you probably need to get your back popped. And he was like, can you do that? I was like, I mean, I could try. I used to do it all the time for my ex. So he was like, all right. He's, keep in mind, he's a big dude, you guys. He's not skinny, he's not sloppy fat or anything like that, but he was a big solid dude, and he was really tall. I'm like 5'4", 155 pounds. So I like to tell people I'm 5'5", but you know. Anyway, so he's like, I'm like, you're gonna have to stretch out on the floor. He was like, no, let's just go upstairs. And I'm like, okay, but you still need to be on the floor because the bed is too soft. It's not gonna work. You know what I have to do to pop his back. So he laid out on the floor upstairs, and I had to, like, you know, twist his body in a certain way and pop his back. And he kept laughing and stuff like it was funny, and it wasn't working. But then eventually I had to tell him, stop laughing and stop moving with me when I'm bending your body in certain directions. Long story short, I popped his back, finally got that done, and he was like, oh, it does feel better, thank you so much, whatever. So I'm getting up thinking, I'm like, you know what, it's kind of getting late, you know, I'm about to go. He's like, thank you, and he hugs me, and he starts kissing on my neck and down to my breast, and I'm like, oh, here we go. And I just was like, what are you doing? And he's like, what did he say? I was like, what you doing? He was like, what? You know, like, just kind of ignoring me, and I was like, I gotta go. And he's like, you don't have to go. And I'm like, I'm just not about to do that. You know, we just met. It's the first night. like, but you don't have to leave. He was like, you can spend the night. And I was like, nah. He was like, you don't have to sleep in the room with me. You can sleep in the guest bedroom. Because he did have his room. He had a guest bedroom, and his daughter had a room. And I was just like, nah, I'm okay. I don't want to spend the night. Might be tempted or something. And so he was like, all right, I understand. So he walks me to the door and walks me out to my truck, watch me, drive off. Whatever. So when I get home, I'm like, oh shoot, I forgot to get my bracelet back from this dude. So I called him the next day, and he said he still had a headache. And I was just like, oh dang, and I'm just trying to give him some suggestions on what he could do to stop the headache or whatever. And he was like, all right, well, I'll talk to you later. And so then the following day I called him, he didn't answer, but I texted him and he replied back and said he's still not feeling too well. So I'm like, damn, I hope you're not getting sick or anything like that. So I didn't hear from him the day after that, and then I called him and there was no answer. I texted him, there was no response. So a few days go by and I text him, nothing. I'm like, dang. So a whole week goes by, you guys. I'm like, you know what, I want my bracelet back. So I called him up the first day, he didn't answer. This is like after it's been like a whole week, he didn't answer. So I waited 2 days because I had left a message and I told him, hey, I'm just trying to get my bracelet. He forgot to get it back to me. He never responded, never called me back or anything. So I called him again and he finally answers the phone. At this point, it's like 2 weeks later. And I'm like, hey, he was like, who is this? I was like, this is Chanel. And he was like, oh, okay. And he was like, I was just was calling because I wanted to get my bracelet back.